outside of tonight's primary, Trump has been getting some pushback for remarks that he made during a rally in Columbia last night.
Well, the former president claimed that his 4 criminal indictments have boosted his support among black Americans because they see him as a victim of discrimination.
So he even went so far as to compare his legal journey to the historic legacy of anti-black prejudice in the legal system. Take a listen.
And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see. That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it?
Well, those comments were said at the Black Conservative Federation's Gala, an event that was put on by black elected officials, including Byron Donalds. You just saw him there, of Florida, and Wesley Hunt of Texas. Trump also said that he knows and understands many black people because of his properties were built by black construction workers.
Well, Trump's opponents have criticized the speech as racist and insulting to black voters. A spokesperson for the Democratic National Committee said in part that Trump is showing black voters exactly what he thinks of them, and his ideas to win them over are as corny and racist as he is. Republicans face an uphill battle in courting black voters who are overwhelmingly supportive of the Democratic Party. Only 25% of black Americans said they had a favorable view of Trump in an AP NRC poll, and that was back in November.
All right, so voting for a candidate was not the only thing on the ballot today for South Carolinians. They were also asked to weigh in on 3 advisory questions about how state law should operate.
Well, they have no binding effect, but voters likely weren't expecting a lot of them, and they were as follows. Should South Carolina law be changed to give people the right to register to vote with the political party of their choice? Preliminary numbers showing voters overwhelmingly voted yes. And then, should South Carolina adopt reforms to increase accountability and reduce conflicts of interest when electing judges? Again, overwhelmingly yes. And finally, should Republicans push for legislative changes to the way financial damages in a lawsuit are paid out? Voters approved that one too, 88% to 12%.
All right, let's bring back in Chief Legal Analyst Cleef Rhodes to the conversation. Some very interesting points there. We're going to be able to talk about that. Now, I have to get your insight, your thoughts on these remarks that Trump said in Columbia last night.
I have nothing else to say except for wow. I mean, all you can do is those are tropes and things that have been used over a number of years, time and time again. And then Brian Donaldson and individuals like that continue to feed into that. That narrative has allowed them to be elected. That room is in a confusing place to be, where he's literally not speaking directly to them. As African Americans stand there, he's talking to his base. His base, if you look at the numbers, are overwhelmingly uneducated or undereducated people. And so those people that feel empowered by comments that he makes like that towards a room full of African Americans is disturbing at the very minimum, but confusing that you have folks clapping at the same time. So a moment of silence is probably the best thing that I could do to give any justice to any of that. But it's extremely racist, it's demeaning, and it's confusing that you want to lead the entire country.
Yeah, and he wasn't really speaking to the black voter there. He was speaking to his base.
100%.
You know, as the former head of the Black Political Caucus here in Charlotte, your voters, they've seen a little bit of I guess, a dent in the armor here as far as for the loyalties and allegiance for the Democratic Party. But those kind of things don't help if they're going to try to win over for the Republican Party.
It doesn't. But if you think about it, it's nothing that the former President Trump is doing that's making African-American voters, specifically male African-American voters, go towards him. As the numbers tend to increase, it's normally and specifically that the African-American Democratic Party has left them. It's not that he's doing anything to push towards them. But regarding these other things, these questions, these advisory things, these don't even statistically connect to their state as well. The first question, remember, these are all advisory. Should the state have a split party? Governor McMaster has even said that doesn't make any sense. It's going to add an additional hurdle to an already very, very small amount of folks that come. The second one, should there be more accountability to their judges? Well, if you want to have accountability and transparency to your judicial system, maybe you should let your judges be elected and not selected by your General Assembly. Your judges are selected, handpicked by folks that are already sitting in your state house. And so the public actually has zero say on your judges. There is no transparency. So the fact that they're saying it should be more, well, it would start by allowing the citizens to vote for their judges. And the last thing, in terms of funding, that question is extremely confusing. And these types of questions are put out by the Republican Party so they can find and gauge what they want to have as talking points, as talking pieces as they go forward. That first question, they've been trying to do that for 20 plus years, and it's went nowhere. It will go nowhere. But I'm surprised that 90+% of the state supports it, even though none of the elected officials will support it.
I mean, when you look at some of the pollings that's coming out, not only specifically those 3 questions, but just that we saw in the primary tonight, was there any reaction that you had that felt like, wow, this is a telling story that's different than what we thought it would be?
I won't say that, but I can say statistically she has polled exactly how you would anticipate. She polls very well, Nikki Haley, in highly educated places like Columbia, like Myrtle Beach, those areas where folks statistically have at least a college degree. I mean, she was winning 60-70% in some of those areas,
right,
but across the state, nothing.
Right, she spent a lot of time, though, in Rock Hill, in Fort Mill, in Indian Land. She spent a lot of time in York County, and also Congressman Ralph Norman is the person who backed her from day one since Nikki Haley decided to be able to run for the presidency. But when you look at the numbers there in terms of the split, you're seeing 60-40 in York County, and you saw as high up in the 70s when you look at Chester and Chesterfield counties.
What that tells me is that the MAGA Republicans in those areas are doing an excellent job of ensuring that their base doesn't leave the support for former President Trump. He is extremely cemented in their minds, and in their minds, she is basically a Democrat dressed as a Republican.
All right, Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Roj, thanks for joining us tonight on Primary Race in South Carolina. Over to you, Jim.